What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of In-Depth Angling. I'm here today at my house spending time tying some flies and some jigs for the upcoming spring season. This is a good way to kill the winter months and still be active in your passion for fishing. I'm going to show you guys what we do here. So what we got here before me is basic fly tying kit. Get online. This one's by Scientific Anglers, deluxe fly tying kit. Comes with hackle, dubbing, channel, and all that stuff. So it comes with vise, scissors, bobbin, hackle, pliers, and more. What it's advertised as, basically your essentials for fly tying and everything. So you got your bobbin, just standard bobbin right here, scissors, bobbin threader. That's really all I use out of this kit for most of the time. I really don't use anything else. You're gonna need some jig heads to do this. I like the kind that don't have any kind of like bait holder on them and everything, or just a clean shank. It's a little easier for tying and stuff. You can use them if you even have like your standard crappie jig you use for your soft plastics and everything too. They'll work. But this is very basic. Here's basically what I'm tying, are a bunch of these little marabou jigs, and you only really need a few things. You need your jig heads, marabou. Crystal flash is optional, but it adds a lot of flash into your bait, and I think it helps get more bites. And then some thread. You got that. You got a vise. You got some scissors. You got a bobbin threader. You got a bobbin, and you're good to go. So it's really, you don't even need all these colors. You don't need all this stuff or special jig heads. This is a very easy way to spend a winter. If you're not going to be out there on the water, you could be prepping for it, and you get to customize what you're going to be throwing for crappie and trout and bass, and you can make these things as big as you want, as small as you want. Play with different weights, different colors, to match the forage in your area or what the fish are keying in on around you. So like I got this one here, it's got a lot longer tail with some crystal flash in it. And the water, this is gonna condense down, not be so fluffy, and it's gonna be more streamlined. But other ones I have are short and stubby, like this one. This one's just got a big mix of stuff. It's big and long and fluffy. It's gonna be really streamlined. It's got a little bit of crystal flash. Sometimes I put crystal flash in them, sometimes I don't. You can mix the colors, you can make it a straight color. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. But what we're gonna be doing here in this video is showing you how to tie a marabou jig by yourself for the first time. And in the next video, we're gonna go out and try to catch something with it. So we'll get right into it, and I'll show you how to start. I'm gonna take my first jig head. Hopefully you guys can get that focused in. Clamp it into your vise here. I'm gonna select my thread, and I've got different colors. I got black, white, like a tannish brown color, silver, and my light green. It's almost like chartreuse. And this isn't even really like fly tying thread per se. This is the stuff you get from Walmart. So you can get fly tying thread if you want. It's a little bit more expensive. I have that kind of stuff, but I like to save it up for my actual flies. This marabou jigs are really easy, and this stuff holds up just fine. I've used a lot of these things over and over and over again for a couple of years, and they still don't fall apart. But what I'm going to be doing here is I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to take my bobbin, clip onto my thread like so. Hopefully you guys are getting this, but it's like that. You got your loose string here, and I'm going to put this bobbin thread right down the middle of my bobbin here at the top. Gonna put the thread through the big loop, just run straight through. I pull through a couple inches at least, and you're just gonna pull straight up, and it's gonna pull your thread up through the bobbin so it's straight out. And then you're going to start on your jig head. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the end of my line with my thumb and my index finger back here towards the shank a little bit, angled up. And I'm just going to start wrapping up here by the head. And I'm going to wrap around and kind of over the top of the other thread that I'm holding here. Just strand after strand, tightly woven, one right after the next, down the shank. You're going to get down about 2/3 of the way or so. You're going to cut it off, cut off your tag end that you were holding on to there with your scissors. And keep wrapping a few more times. And it gives you a little bit of a base to work with. Then I'm going to select my marabou. I've got a brown that's really good color if you're feeding on crawdads, white that's good for a lot of different situations, especially if there's a lot of shad in the lake that you're fishing or stream. And then chartreuse, if you fish a little bit more of a stained water, kind of gets fish's attention, stained or muddy water situation. So my personal favorite for going for what I'm going to be primarily using these jigs for is crappie. And in our lake, they love chartreuse. They love chartreuse and they love white. So I like to combine those two or run them both straight. I'm going to tie one here. It's going to be a combo. I'll show you guys. So I got one strand of the marabou. Break off a little piece of it. I'm going to set it back here. I'm going to cut off the part that doesn't really have any hair to it, the top part, by holding on and still holding on to it so it doesn't unravel and you have a bunch of marabou flying all over the place because this stuff gets up in the air pretty easy. You're going to wrap up, set this stuff on the shank, and just start wrapping it up a few times around. And I can pull on this tail and it's not going to come out at all. It's going to stay there. And I'm going to cut however far back I want the main bulk, the bulkiness of the tail to go. So I only want the bulkiness to go out a little bit. And then I pinch it and I reapply it again. I'm going to wrap it a few more times. Right down the shank. Get all those loose strands of it, they'll kind of pop through. I'm going to cut it a little bit further back this time. It's going to give it a little bit more bulk up here where the center is and a little bit more fluff towards the end of it. And then I got the end of my marabou here, which is really interesting. Now I can do two things here with it, and this is where you can really customize whatever you want with it. I could put it all the way up here by the head and kind of give it more of like a back and have a little bit more flutter towards the back of it, because the way this jig's going to be sitting, the line right here from the head, from the eyelet, it's going to be going straight up. So the jig is going to be sitting down horizontally. This is actually going to be the bottom side where the fish, if they're looking up, they're going to be seeing this. And it kind of pays to have a little bit more action towards the back of it, and everything's just kind of moving separately. Or you can add it to the back of the tail, making it a little bit more of a wavy tail to it. I kind of like the tail just a little bit bulkier, and then adding a little bit more action up here by the head. I think it makes the fish go up there closer to the front of the bait when they strike. I kind of want them to eat it up closer towards the head, and it's a higher hookup ratio. And I'm going to have that there, and it still stretches back here right by where the tail is, so you're still adding some. But you've got that there. It's tight, but it still looks kind of messy and everything. I'm not done. I'm going to add a couple little strands of crystal flash to this. Just pull out a strand. I got all this marabou and crystal flash and everything. This didn't come with the kit. I bought this at different fly shops. A lot of fly shops have it. You buy this stuff online. You buy this from Cabela's or Bass Pro. They've all got a lot of this stuff. I think it's where I got some of this was from Bass Pro in Springfield, Missouri. But I'm just going to clean up my jig and just keep wrapping that string up. I'm going to cut this. I don't like the crystal flash to go any further than what the tail is. You can make it go as long as you want. That's just kind of customizing it and everything, but you just want to make sure you're wrapping tight. And I'm just cutting it back. I've got a couple strands here put up together. I know this stuff's kind of hard to see even without the camera focusing just in your eyes sometimes. So you just kind of add it wherever you feel like it needs it. You can cut it a little bit shorter so it's further up towards the body. I do that with a few strands. I have a few strands towards the back, but I like most of it up here towards the body. And this stuff, this crystal flash really adds a lot to your bait, even for how subtle it is. You don't really think about it too much, but if you've ever fished with jerk baits or a lot of topwater lures, people I've seen this stuff tied up with some marabou on the back of one of your treble hooks. And you can do this with your treble hook too. You can tie this kind of stuff if you have jerk baits at home and you want to add some crystal flash or some marabou to your hooks. It does help you get bites, especially when the fish are really finicky. I'm just going to wrap it and get me a body. So right now it's kind of skinny up here at the head, gets fatter because it's just like the marabou's in here and it's wrapped up around by this thread and everything. But now I'm just going to smooth out the body with the thread itself. I'm going to add bulk and I'm going to cover up that green just by wrapping it. Just figuring out wherever the holes are within this, where it's bleeding through. If there's any kind of marabou that's shooting through the gaps in my thread, I'm just going to kind of wrap tight right in those gaps. And so now I'm looking at here, there's nothing that's shooting through there. I'm gonna come up here by the head. Now it's about streamlined, it's even. Something else I could tell you can do if you wanted to, and I am going to do it with this one. So I have the chartreuse back here. I'm going to add a little bit, just a pinch of the marabou up here towards the body, up here by the head. So I'm not going all the way down there by the tail, I'm stopping just before the tail. The first run of this white, kind of a short little thing of it. I'm going to stack it back on here. Try to keep it all together and even. Try to wrap it back up. Cut it again, or you can leave it long. I'm going to cut it again. I'm going to wrap it up here right by the head. And I'm just going to leave that long. It's going to almost come all the way back here to where the tail end is. But as you can see, it's really all the way up there. The tail's back here. And so if this thing's kind of fluttering down, it'll kind of flare itself out there towards the back. And this stuff will just wave in front of the fish. And you get a lot more strikes. Really depends on the fish's mood. The more lethargic they are, the more this kind of stuff helps, I think. The more crystal flash helps. But you're going to be using this stuff in different conditions all the time. And so to end this thing off, I'm going to get it up here by the head. And I don't really know what you call this knot. It's just something I do. But I'm going to take my finger, my index finger, I'm going to wrap the line around it. So it just overlaps it. The line overlaps here below my finger. And then I twist it once. And then I put that loop over the top of the jig head, pull my finger out. And I'm pulling up here with the bobbin and the thread. And then I'm just going to kind of wiggle back and forth onto there and tighten it. You can whip finish these things, you can do whatever. I don't have a whip finish tool, you don't need one. But I do this a few times. And then I'm gonna cut it right off where it ends at. And then I did forget to show you one thing that's very important with this. This is what makes it come all together. This is Zap glue. Waterproof glue. It doesn't have to be Zap. I like these. Single-use ones are less messy. Unless you're going to be tying like 50 flies in a day. These things can get you quite a few flies. They give you a couple dozen. Even out of these little packages. I've gotten a few. But I'm just going to glue down my thread across here back to my marabou. Don't want to glue your marabou. You just want to get your thread on your body and stuff and kind of spread it out. A little goes a long way. And then that glue will soak into these threads. And so in case your knot ever does come undone for whatever reason, the thread itself will be glued together. And that's basically all you gotta do. And that stuff will dry pretty quick. You can get UV light. A UV light will dry that stuff pretty faster, and so you can keep moving. But like if you have a little desk or something, a little desk lamp. If you have a desk lamp like this, you can just set your flies over here, like on a rack or something, to dry, or you can build yourself a little rack or whatever. But the little jig head, the eyelet, will keep it up and away, and it'll dry there, and you can keep tying, or you can just leave them on the vise if you're wanting to do one at a time or something like that. But these, that right there is a finished product. It's ready to go fishing as soon as it dries up, and we'll be out there in the next video trying to catch something with these jigs. I'm by no means any more skilled than an amateur at this, but I can tie crappie jigs that will catch fish and I can customize them to how I want them. And it's very simple. You don't have to get all the really fancy stuff. You get you a bobbin, some scissors, some thread, some jig heads, some glue, marabou, and a vise. You can do all this. You can get as crazy with it as you want and spend as much money as you want with this stuff, but you don't need to. I'll leave a link in the description down below to the kit that I have if you guys are interested in it. It comes with like a little bit of instruction and actual tying flies and everything too. I might tie some flies on this channel the next couple weeks as well. But leave a comment down below if you want to see that kind of stuff. And we'll get out there and try to catch some fish in the next video for you. We'll have a part 2 of this. I don't know if we'll be catching trout or crappie or what, but these crappie jigs, these marabou jigs, as a lot of you guys know, they catch a variety of species, anywhere from panfish to walleye to bass to trout, and they're used all over America. So hopefully guys, you learned something out of this today, something that you found interesting. Leave a thumbs up below if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content coming out, and we'll catch you on the next one.